But the reality of sustainability is it's not just one box. Like you can be sustainable in so many ways. A slow fashion brand might think, okay, how can I lay this out or how can I pattern this so that I'm using like the majority of the paper and not wasting? So there's a lot more intention and thought into it. So it's slower because there's time and care brought into the process. And the market is not like a normal fabric supplier. They get their materials from the local factory waste.
Hello and welcome back to Behind Your Wardrobe, a podcast series where we unravel stories about your clothes that went behind and beyond just your wardrobe. I am Borairot and I will be your host for today's podcast. So in the previous episode, we have discussed about the idea of choosing quality over quantity in fashion consumption and how choosing good quality clothing can help you reduce waste in fashion industry. So today we will look into the technical side of clothing production and learn some practical tips in choosing quality clothing. And without any further delay, let's meet with our guest today. Hi, please introduce yourself first.
Hello, my name is Ray. I'm a lecturer at Limkokwing University. I teach pattern making, fashion, design, styling.
Can you tell us how you got into this industry in the first place?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I grew up always wanting being a fashion designer. And when I went to school in New York for it, I really understood the realities of the industry. And I was like, actually, maybe I want to go into something that's going to affect the industry, right? So I didn't want to be a designer anymore. I thought, well, maybe I can work as a pattern maker, a technical designer, and work with the brands that I want to support and see more of in this industry. So that's what I did. I was really skilled as a pattern maker. So I am a technical designer, which is the person who actually like makes the clothes and processes the clothes from the design to the production. And so, yeah, I worked with some companies in New York, and then I made my way to Cambodia and worked with some brands here. And now I'm teaching at the university.
What made you decide to teach in Cambodia?
Yeah, great question. So I was working for a sustainable fashion brand here, and that unfortunately shut down. And the reason why I came to Cambodia in the first place was to contribute to the growing fashion industry. So I'm like, you know what? This is my opportunity now to actually contribute more than working for a brand that was US based. So I hit up a friend and there was an opening and yeah, decided to teach.
Because you have a very technical background in fashion, can you explain to us, like, for people who don't know the production of fast fashion or fashion in general, can you walk us through the process?
Right. So a lot of people think of the idea of the fashion brands as you have a design, you give it to your manufacturer, and then they make it. And there's actually so much that happens in between the concept and to the actual garment. So that's where I come in. So the designer will work with their team to develop the garment. So we'll do paper patterns, or now there's digital patterns, and that's just like the blueprint to creating the garment. And then from there, you got to find all the materials, all the trims, everything that goes into the actual garment. And then there's a fitting process. So you make samples and samples and samples and samples until the garment is perfect. And then you work with your manufacturer to produce as many as you ordered for your...
Okay. From your point of view, like, which part of the process create the most waste? Because you mentioned like creating sample after sample. So I imagine there's lots of waste.
Yeah, if we think about it, if you think about, okay, you buy a garment and then you throw it away and you're like, oh, I wasted that one garment. Okay, that is wasteful, right? Or if you think about production and they're producing hundreds, thousands, however many, tens of thousands of units of one garment. And a lot of them get rejected. They don't actually pass the quality control check. And so there's maybe like 100 that get wasted. Okay, that's a lot. Actually, 50 to 100, I don't know, however many. But in the product development process, for every one garment, you're making multiple samples as well. So I would say the most waste comes from the pre-production and the production.
So since you are in pattern making and you're teaching pattern making, can you walk us through the process of that?
Yeah, it's something that not a lot of people know. When you have your clothes, you have to think of it like this is a 3D thing, right? That's on the body. When you're making your patterns, which is like the paper grid, I guess, to making the garment, you have to think about like this sleeve, what this looks like on 2D. So you have to draft it almost like you're an architect, right? Or an engineer. So we draft it out. And that's a very specific skill to be able to do it because it's not visual. It's all technical. If anyone who goes into fashion design, know that you're going to do math. Know that you're going to do math for sure. So it's a very technical process to get the fit exactly how it needs to be. And you have to do multiple runs of samples and adjustments to the pattern to get it right.
Yeah, so in that process, it can also create more waste in making clothes.
Absolutely. There's so much paper waste in that process, which is why a lot of brands are switching to digital pattern making, but still a lot of brands can't afford that, or that's a whole new skill, like that's beyond the pattern making manually. So a lot of brands still do manual pattern making, especially for the initial samples. So yeah, there's a lot of paper waste.
I see. Can you share us insights into the difference between like fast fashion production and also slow fashion production?
Yeah, huge difference. And I think the biggest difference is time and cost. So for a slow fashion or for any regular fashion brand, you would have maybe 2 to at most 6 like collections a year. And you would take the time to develop it. You would find the right materials that work perfect for your design. Fast fashion, you have to bring out new collections or new garments every single week of the year, every week. So if you imagine something that a different company would take, 6 months to develop a collection, they have to turn around like this, really quickly. So they have to design everything quickly. They have to do fittings really quickly. There's not enough time for quality, in my opinion, because it's rushed, right? And so you also have to find cheaper materials, so also lack of quality. And then also you have to get it produced quickly and cheaply. So again, it's a less quality. So fast fashion, it's cute, it's fast, it's trendy, it's fun, but you're missing out on quality. And also the labor it took to create those clothing is going to be not the most ethical labor as well. Because if you imagine like a $15 garment, like a $15 dress that you would find fast fashion, if it's $15, imagine like every step that it requires to produce that one garment. Who is getting paid? Like, how are people getting paid? Like cents, like barely any money. So it's low cost of labor, which affects the people who are making the clothes. It's low quality of materials, and a lot of waste goes into it too. And quick time.
What about the slow fashion production of clothing?
Much slower. Like, so it's in the name, slow, right?
Yes.
So the brand that I worked for, we were sustainable and slow as well. And we took our time to really develop the clothing and to find materials that we think would fit the best with the garments we're making. So the whole process is more intentional. You're really connected with your customer because it's not like your customer is everyone, your customer is very niche target.
Yeah.
And so we're connecting with the customer. We're designing specifically for them. The brand I work for and a lot of these slow fashion brands are low waste. So they're really intentional about their pattern making. So we went to pattern making before. Like, imagine you're cutting something out. Everything that's cut out that's not being utilized is then still waste, like paper waste, right? So there's a way to reduce the waste even in pattern making. So a slow fashion brand might think, okay, how can I lay this out or how can I pattern this so that I'm using like the majority of the paper and not wasting? So there's a lot more intention and thought into it. So it's slower because there's time and care brought into the process.
But then there's another misconception because you were talking about how like people who, let's say, leans towards more sustainable fashions are quite niche.
Yeah.
And most sustainable clothing are like kind of boring or basic, like beige color, nudes and all of that stuff.
Okay.
What's your take on that?
Okay, I have a hot take. Not all sustainable fashion is boring. Okay. Yes, there was a big, marketing branding for sustainable fashion, and it was like that girly that likes oversized clothes and beige and like things that can only be naturally dyed, so it's not getting vibrant colors. But the reality of sustainability is it's not just one box. Like you can be sustainable in so many ways. I mostly thrift shop and secondhand shop. That's a sustainable practice. So there's other brands that do deconstruction, so they'll go to thrift shops and then they'll create something new from it. There's a lot of brands doing that. That's exciting. There's also brands like local brands here in Cambodia. You can say the majority of them are sustainable because they get their fabrics mostly from the market. And the market is not like a normal fabric supplier. They get their materials from the local factory waste.
Yeah.
So they're reusing waste from the factories to make new collections. So even though they're not advertised as sustainable, that is a sustainable practice. So it doesn't have to be boring and beige and oversized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also noticed that when going to like local markets, there's lots of outlets pieces from bigger brands. How did it end up there?
Yeah. So before I was mentioning about quality control, so in the production process, they cut it, they make it, and then they check it. Because before it sends out, we have to make sure it like looks good and it matches the standard of what the brand wants. So there's a process of them checking the clothes, making sure there's no issues. Any little issue, it cannot be sent to the client, to the brand. So those are called fails, like quality control fails. And then they're just stuck with them. So then the manufacturer, they then have the responsibility to eat that cost. Like they don't get, so it's a waste. So what they do is they'll sell it in bulk to the markets here. And so what you'll see, these brand names, they're usually quality control fails. But they're still good quality because it's small things. Like the tag is sewn on the wrong side or just like forgot to put something here. It's usually not fit issues because that's already taken care of. Yeah.
So for consumer who want to follow the idea of quality and wanting to actually buy quality pieces, what would you recommend to check for when buying?
Oh, okay. I would say educate yourself on the care label. So every garment you have will have like a label on the inside, and it shows like what type of fabric is made out of, and also how to care for it. Care label. So things that are more natural materials like cotton, silks, wool, that's usually going to be a better quality garment, typically. And things that are like polyester, are usually that's what was literally made for fast fashion. So it can be produced easily and washed easily. So I feel like for quality, you're going to know about the fabrics. But another thing, which is like harder sometimes, is understanding construction. So there's the way that you sew things for cheap brands versus the quality brands is completely different. So that's just exposure. So going to the nicer brands and seeing how the fabric feels, like even how the fabric feels is going to be, it feels more luxurious. It feels like more expensive. You can feel it. And the construction is going to be more quality as well, instead of just like an overlock seam or just a quick thing that's going to tear easily. So yeah.
What about when thrifting? Because it's quite hard to like identify fabric and stuff like that. So what is your recommendations for when thrifting more consciously?
Yeah. This is hard because back in my day, there wasn't so much fast fashion in the thrift shops, and now it's everywhere. So again, educate yourself on labels. So if you know what fast fashion brands are, when you're going thrift shopping, probably don't buy those because they're not going to last. Like if already fast fashion is breaking within a few months, like that's not going to last you many washes. But I would say, again, look at the labels, see if it's a natural material like wool or cotton or linen, 100% leather. I love finding leather and real fur at the thrift shops because it's quality, right? Yeah, I would say read the labels, and it's really kind of an exposure thing. So my tip is really just to go out shopping and see the difference. Yeah, but fabrics play a big role.
Can you talk more about understanding care labels? Because I feel like not many people are aware of actually understanding that caring for your clothes based on the label is important?
It's so important. It's so important because you want your clothes to last, right? Like you don't want to invest your money into something, however much money you spend on it, you don't want it to break or like ruin, right? So you don't want to be the one ruining your clothes at the very least. The care label literally will tell you how to get the most wear out of your clothing by washing it correctly. So I think a lot of people in Cambodia don't have dryers, so that's already huge. That's so good because the drying machines really destroy the fabric. But for instance, since there's a lot of clothes that are dry clean only, means you have to take it to the dry cleaner. Don't try to wash it yourself because then the fabric rubs and it ruins and it breaks and it tears. So the care label, it's always on the inner left hand side of your garment or on the back neck. It tells you exactly like in icons. So you might have to Google it. Let's just research it. Again, educate yourself for sure. So it'll tell you like this can be washed. This should be dry. This needs to be dry clean only. And I really recommend following that because that's there so you can have the most wear out of your clothes.
Okay, so from your perspective, can you share what determines a good quality clothing versus a not so good quality clothing?
Okay. It's harder now to tell because I feel like a lot of the low quality construction is snipping into like the higher quality brands. But I would say first fabric. Usually lower quality is made with synthetic materials, like polyester is the biggest one, versus something that's made out of cotton or linen or wool. That's usually going to be a better quality. Cotton's everywhere though, but it'll be like a blend of polyester or something synthetic. I would also say the construction, like how it's actually sewn together. So you ever like had a garment and you wear it and then a hole comes, or like in the actual fabric, there's a hole in it. So how the fabric is made is also a big one. And then how it's sewn is also a big one as well. So there's like different kind of stitching. Like there's one called an overlock stitch versus like a single needle with top stitching. Like you can tell. So I would say the easiest way, it's hard to explain, it's more visual, but I would say the easiest way is go to like a fast fashion brand, go look at their denim, the jeans, and look how it's constructed, or look at the fabric, is it stretchy, like very synthetic, and then go to like even a mid-range jean brand, and then look at the quality. Even how heavy the fabric is, you're going to see the quality is a little bit more heavy. There's a little bit more like weight to it. And then there's lots more construction details, a lot more stitching, a lot more things to keep it like secure.
Okay, so for listeners who want to build a more long-lasting wardrobe, what is the recommendations in shopping and habits that they could potentially change in order to be more mindful?
Big question. Love this question. Honestly, my biggest recommendation is get your own personal style.
Mm-hmm.
Get your own personal style. Don't just try to follow the trends, because trends, especially now, are meant to last months, like no more than a year. And then what? Then you have these garment that's not cute anymore because it's not on trend, and then you can't wear it anymore. So get your own personal style, understand your own personal taste. And that comes not from just always shopping at fast fashion brands or online, because that's all meant to have you as a consumer consume what's trendy and what's hot right now. I really do recommend going to the thrift shops. There's so many here now, so many, and they have great variety. Go in and see, like, do I like this? Why do I like this? Like, am I buying this because I saw someone on TikTok wearing it? Or am I buying this because, I don't know, I like this? And then try and experiment with your style. And it's going to be bad at first. You're going to look back on photos, be like, what was I wearing? And that's how you know you're doing a good job. You have to look back on photos and be like, that was crazy. What was I wearing? Then you're developing your own personal style. Then the clothes will last because you like this garment, because it works for you and you like it, not because it was trendy that one summer, right? So with that, I do recommend like diversifying your closet. So of course, we can't fully get away from fast fashion. If you need a cute little shirt for a dress, for an event, whatever, but mix it up a bit. Like I like to mix with some secondhand and some, if you can, local designer, or a little bit more expensive, so it's going to last longer, and then mix in a little fast fashion. Just have a variety.
I see.
Yeah.
Can you share more tips on how to get your personal style, how to understand it?
Yeah. Okay, because I do teach a styling class, so I do go over this with my students. I think where you want to start is understanding yourself and what you like and what you don't like. Again, we are literally the industry is like trying to make us like follow. And I think it's important for you to understand who you are as an individual. What do you like? What kind of aesthetics you like? What kind of movies you're inspired by? What kind of celebrities do you like, how they dress? What kind of art do you like? If you don't like art, what games do you like? You know, what countries you like? What is the aesthetic that you like as an individual and the things you like? And then what are the kind of visual cues from those things? So I wear a lot of black. And my style is very influenced by like 90s R&B like divas and singers and a lot of Black Power movement like icons. And that's just because this was what I consumed when I was young. And also I wore black a lot because I was always living in dirty cities and I didn't want to like, I would spill. So I just wore black all the time and it just kind of became my thing. So doesn't matter if black is trendy or not, it goes in and out of trend. I will always wear black. I will always wear hoop earrings because I'm really inspired by like 90s like hip hop artists and stuff. It's just what I like. So it's not about trend. It's just about the things that I grew up around, the things that I like, the things that work well on me. Also understand your body and your body type. It's like know how to dress for your body, and that comes with experimentation. Honestly, just get out there and shop. Just get out there and try on clothes and like be more in tune with like, do I like this or am I wearing this because I feel like I should, or is it trendy?
Because you've been in Cambodia for so long, where do you usually shop for your clothes?
Secondhand,
Secondhand,
always. Like most of my clothes is from the secondhand shops. Yeah.
See. Do you have any brands or like stores that you usually go to in Cambodia? Yeah.
If I were to have the money to shop at the really expensive ones, I would go to Revive Concept Shop because it's a great store that highlights a lot of local brands. Actually, let me start over. I did shop there. I do shop there sometimes because it's not as expensive as people think it is. And like I was saying before, it's really good to save up your coins and like spend money and invest in local brands because there's more care to it and you're helping like the economy, like the local economy, and you're supporting local creatives. So I actually do shop at Revive Concept Shop a lot. That's a great place to start.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you mentioned supporting local can be a way to help reduce waste as well.
Absolutely.
And not only reduce waste, it also helps the workers and the designer themselves.
Yeah. So the thing is like, I feel like Cambodia has a lot of national pride, right? And there's a lot of really amazing, talented designers coming out. Not just my students, not just my graduates. There are so many really creative artists in all creative sectors. And the fashion industry is really starting to make its mark now. So I think a lot of people maybe don't even know that there are these brands. So if you really want to look for fashion brands that you can support, I would say start with Revive. Contact me. I have a whole list of designers. And the thing is, I really love for there to be more communication between the designers and the consumers. And like, what do you want? What do you want to wear? And see if there's any connections that can be made.
Do you think that fashion consumers in Cambodia, they understand that there is this impact that the industry left?
I don't think there is enough knowledge about that. And if there is some, it's like maybe not the most important thing that's going on in their life. I think in the industry as a whole, like just outside of Cambodia, it's not talked about for a reason. The industry does not, the mass of the industry does not necessarily become successful from educated consumers. Got to keep them kind of ignorant and kind of not in the know because you want to just have them buy the cheap stuff. So if people were all of a sudden waking up and being like, okay, there's these conscious brands, there's these local brands that aren't that expensive that I can invest my money in, invest in the local economy and invest in the creative industries, that takes away from fast fashion. That hurts them. So there is not a lot of like motive for the industry to support that. So that's why it needs to come from the people, come from on the streets, like local brands, creating events, like putting their stuff out there in the world to see. But then the consumer needs to be willing to see what's out there too.
Okay, thank you so much, Ray, for sharing your insight with us today. Understanding a little bit more about clothing and what makes good quality clothes can really help us understand why we need to buy more consciously in order to help reduce waste and ultimately help reduce the impact on the environment as well. So for consumers, taking small actions like checking fabric, stitching, and all of that can help you reduce waste and shop more consciously. And that's it for our episode today, and see you guys in the next one.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Yes, you're welcome.